Do you want to know where to go fishing this weekend, what to target, what spots to go fish, and I'll even reveal a few secret spots. Stick around to the end for those. But first, let's get into the news this week. There's been a few news articles around. Two things I want to talk about. One being the cicadas. So the Bureau of Meteorology came out over the last couple of days talking about this warmer and wetter weather, we should see a large supply of cicadas around the east coast of Sydney. That's great news. If you are a bass fisherman and you know everything about bass, cicadas are a really great lure to use. And if the cicadas are around, the bass are going to be trying to eat them on the surface. So early morning, late afternoon, when I saw that newspaper article and I had a read of it, I got really excited as a bass fisherman. So head out to BCF, head out to all sort of tackle stores, get yourself a cicada, and hopefully over the next couple of months we might see a bumper bass season. The other thing that's been in the news over the last couple of days is an island that might be built in Botany Bay. Yes, I know, that sounds like a really weird thing to do in Botany Bay. They're going to be trying to, it's a proposal for the cruise terminal that's going to be put into Botany Bay. Obviously it's going to cost a lot of money, and just an interesting thing to talk about in regards to how they're going to fit something like that in there and where is it going to be placed, what effect that has on fishing and all that sort of stuff. So watch this space. It only is a proposal at this time. And yeah, the images and stuff like that look very interesting. It looks like it's going to take up a lot of fishing area, and those flats along that area there are really good for flathead, brim, whiting, all that sort of stuff. So I'm guessing there's going to be a lot of opposition to the proposal, and they'll probably stick in Yarra Bay and use that as the cruise ship terminal, but we'll have to wait and see in regards to that. Now, that's enough of the news. Let's get straight into what has been biting around Sydney. Snapper and kingfish out offshore have been going ballistic, and I know I said the snapper season should slowly start to wind down. There's been that little peak bite over the last couple of weeks. Some nice fish in the morning and afternoon around a tide change. It's the biggest key for this time of year for snapper. Tide change, morning and afternoon, fishing in less than 30 meters of water. Daiwa wave minnows have been producing some really nice fish, and 7-inch jerk shads as well. Baby bass or the pilchard colour has been the best lure colour to use while having a fish for your snapper. Heading further south, and the cliffs between Botany Bay and the Port Hacking, and the cliffs south of the Port Hacking have been producing some nice kingfish. Going out to middle grounds and around Oak Park and the squid grounds, grabbing some squid or some live yellowtail or even some slimies if you can. Trolling them around the cliffs, slow trolling them, looking at your sounder, and if you see what you think is kingfish, knocking it out of gear and letting yourself slowly drift over that spot, have been producing some really good kings. Some great country to be able to fish in there, nice and tight, hard to get the kingfish out, and if you get a really good one, it's going to be tough to get them out of those cliffs. But some people have been catching some metre plus kingfish in there. Not so much in the river over the last week. I feel like over the next weekend we should see again a nice strong bite over the weekend for kingfish, but we're going to talk about that in a few moments. The last fish I want to talk about is the flathead. Flathead have been on the chew religiously. Almost every day there's been reports of people catching flathead. Nice eating size table fish, so that 40 to 50, and some 70 plus models on the odd occasion as well. On the flats on the high tide, and then of course on those edges once that high tide recedes and the flathead is sitting there waiting for an easy ambush feed. Talked about that for weeks now. Before we get into the secret spots for this weekend and where to go fishing, I want to quickly mention 7 Seas Apparel. Thank you to 7 Seas Apparel again for supporting me by providing me some awesome apparel to be wearing while out fishing, whether it be the fishing jerseys, the t-shirts, the singlets, the board shorts. They've got everything for you this summer. Some brand new fishing jerseys just about to be dropped on the 7 Seas Apparel website. Don't forget, if you're going to go there and purchase something, use code REALFISHING10. Let them know that I sent you there using that code REALFISHING10, and yeah, support some local business. The second sponsor here at Real Fishing I want to talk about is Salty Captain. Salty Captain has been a newer sponsor that's been on the channel. They provide boaties with all sorts of cleaning products to clean your boat in a super quick, easy way. Now I use the Salty Captain's Rescue Box. It's got the Salty Captain boat wash and the engine flush, along with the Captain's Musket. The Captain's Musket is what you mix and spray the salt wash on. It takes less than 5 minutes to clean your boat. Spray it on, hose it off, you're done. Salt free, all over the boat, all inside of the boat, and it's clean, gets rid of all the gunk, everything like that. And the best thing is, no scrubbing. Then when we go down to the engine flush system, we plug the engine flush system into the engine and flush the engine for about 3 to 4 minutes. That engine flush liquid that mixes in with the water prevents all sorts of corrosion, especially in your thermostat. If you want to watch my DIY repairing and first servicing your engine, the thermostat is such a key part of your engine. So that engine flush system, particularly for your thermostat, your impeller, and all sorts of those internal parts that suck in the salt water and then push it back out, it's going to be clean and, again, salt-free, rust-free, less of a worry, more reliability for your engine at a cheaper cost. So if you're going to head over to Salty Captain and grab yourself something, don't forget to go and use Real Fishing 15 to save yourself 15% off anything in the Salty Captain range on their website. Let's get on to the plan for Saturday. And over the weekend, we're looking at what we would call a pretty traditional summer weekend. Some very strong northeasterly breezes throughout the afternoon. From about midday to sunset, the nor'easter is going to start absolutely blowing and pushing a lot of fishermen away from certain grounds. Now, if we're going to fish the afternoon, it is the full moon. Full moon traditionally, in that lead up to the full moon and a couple of days after the full moon, traditionally there's some really good afternoon fishing. They are small bite windows, I find, in the full moon area. You will catch them in the morning and the afternoon. The afternoon just seems to be that slightly better. I think mainly because the bite window is just that little bit longer. But again, both days, especially on Saturday, the nor'easter is predicted to be quite strong, 35, 40 k's an hour. Again, please remember, go out, make sure you're checking your weather apps before you head out. Don't just take my predictions and what I'm seeing on the weather apps today as what is going to happen. Please make sure you check your weather apps before you actually head out. But for me, I'm going to talk about the morning because, again, the nor'easter is going to be blowing quite hard in the afternoon. If you would like to fish the afternoon, what I would do, we've got a run out tide in the afternoon. I'd go fish our northeastern corners of our rivers. So a really good one would be the Cooks River, Warrenora River are two really good ones for Botany Bay. For the port hacking, all of the Cronulla side bays, so we've Gunnamatta Bay, Yowie Bay, Lillypilly, Gymea Bay, Northwest Arm are all really good for that nor'easter breeze in the afternoon, if that's what you're going to do. Run out tide, soft plastics, targeting flathead, on drop-offs, all the way to the bottom end of the tide. If that's what you want to do it in the afternoon. But for me, I'm personally going to be targeting the morning. Morning, again, is that nor'easter, but it's a lot lower than in the afternoon. So that nor'east breeze is looking at about 20, 25 k's an hour. Still a bit strong, a bit annoying, but I'm still going to use the same targeting areas. But I'm going to target a different fish because of the tide. So in the afternoon, we've got that run out tide, targeting flathead, all that sort of stuff. Maybe even some whiting on the flats if you want to go up there. But in the morning, we've got a run-in tide, and quite a strong run-in tide. Key with that is, what I'm going to be targeting is kingfish and salmon. The reason why, we've got a run-in tide, it's a big run-in tide. Okay, it's about a 1.2, 1.3 metre tide. Here in Sydney, that's a really great tide to be able to target your kingfish, and it is a run-in tide as well. So, plan for me. I'm going to head out in the port hacking on Saturday morning, go grab some live baits. I'll go grab some yellowtail really quickly, and then I'll probably spend half an hour trying to see if I can find a squid or two. Preferably like to use squid, but I know I'll be able to catch yellowtail pretty quickly, so I'll go quickly do that. I might go out to middle grounds because there's a 1.1 metre swell. Should be able to quickly poke out, grab some live bait, come back in. If not, there's a few spots in the port hacking as well that you can go and get a few live baits around Lillypilly and Gymea as well. If you want to look for a yellowtail as well, you can use those areas too. Then maybe a few squid. I might go along Daruk Beach there in Main Bar. There's a few sort of weedy patches there in the shallow and salmon haul as well. Quickly spend 20, 30 minutes having a fish for them. If I get a couple, great. Then I'm going to be using that run out tide to my advantage to target kingfish. What I like to do in the port hacking when I'm targeting kingfish, I'll go and firstly go to places like out the front of Main Bar. There's a big drop off right out the front of Main Bar. I normally fish towards the ocean or towards the front of the bay and then work my way back down towards Northwest Arm, which will be like sort of my last areas to be able to go have a fish. So start around Main Bar, slowly drift around with some live baits. I'll also have a plastic often in the river. What I'll do when the tide's really big, there's no point sort of trolling your live baits. You're better off just drifting them and then also casting with the soft plastic. So you're sort of working two. Got the live bait out the back, coming along with the drift, and I've set it at probably about 10 meters depending on the depth of the water. and then I'll use the soft plastics. I'll use maybe a 7-inch jerk shad from Daiwa in the baby bass color, and I'll flick that around to see if I can't get a kingfish on that as well. Now another one that I might head out after that, it might be Southwest Arm. Might use more plastics than bait in that area. Again, I'll still have the live bait out back about 10-15 meters deep and fish the soft plastics out the front and see if we can't find some fish, obviously keeping an eye on that sounder. After that, we're looking at places like Lily Pilly as well. Then I might head towards Lightning Point, Gaimea, all that sort of stuff. I'd like to sort of either work from the northwest end all the way up to the top, or from the top all the way back, and sort of covering my spots as I go through. It's a really easy way to fish the port hacking, and it's a lot easier to be able to cover ground moving from spot to spot rather than going from the heads of the port hacking all the way out to Northwest Arm, then back out, all that sort of stuff. It's just a lot more time efficient. You get to spend a lot more time fishing. You will probably figure out what they're biting on and where they are a lot quicker by doing that. So that's Saturday. Now let's look at Sunday. It's looking all right on Sunday. We've got a northeast breeze, again, that 25 to 35 kilometre an hour all day. Please make sure you check the weather app before you head out. Biggest difference between Saturday and Sunday, and the difference that I might do, is the technique that I might fish. Now, it being a 20 to 35 kilometre an hour northwest wind, or sorry, northeast wind, probably going to be anchoring up and trying to burley fish up rather than drifting through areas and moving around a lot. Probably going to anchor up at a few places, burley, spend a good 45 minutes to an hour there, targeting a variety of fish. Now, in the early morning, I'm going to burley up using some big live baits and all that sort of stuff. Get some yellowtail, get some squid similar to Saturday. Burley up using some pilchards. See if I can burley up a few kings into that burley trail, and then either waft a lightly weighted pilchard back down to them, or have a live bait sitting there to see if we can't get a few good places to do that. Is Lily Pilly, Lightning Point, Gaimea Bay, out the front of Main Bar, and in Botany Bay as well, are really good spots to be able to do that. Now that's if the northeast wind is up around that 25-30 k's an hour. It's probably a lot more nicer to be able to anchor and burley and let the burley drift along the trail and try and find a kingfish that way, rather than trying to cast lures and all that sort of stuff. And that sort of wind just can be not an enjoyable experience in my opinion. Again, we're targeting that running tide. That running tide is going to be absolutely pumping in over the weekend. Again, Botany Bay, if you're looking in that northeast wind, I'd stay completely out of the bay if I was you in Botany Bay, unless you've got a really capable boat to be able to go out and have a fish in there. It just won't be comfortable. There'll probably be 2-foot swell the whole time, and it's just not going to be comfortable. So Cooks River is a really good one. There's some really nice kings being caught in the Cooks River around the bridge there near the airport. It's a really good spot to be able to target them, and also the boat moorings that are on the western side of that bridge there are also really good spots for kingfish. Again, northeast breeze in the Georges River. Bridges are a really good one. So Tom Ugley's and Captain Cook are also two really good ones to be able to use. Then if we head even further back, places like Como and stuff like that, where it gets a bit skinnier and a bit more protected from the winds, are also a really good one. Run-in tide for those sort of areas, I'll be targeting brim, so lightly weighted soft plastics under the bridge pylons, under wharfs, jetties, all that sort of stuff is what I would be doing on the Saturday morning if you're going to be fishing those areas. But if you're going in the port hacking, similar to what I'm going to be doing, anchoring up, burling up, and seeing if you can't find a king. A couple hours after that, once it turns to like 8-9 o'clock, probably still be burling up, but I might throw out more of a lighter rod as well, along with my heavier setups. Main reason because there might be a few brim, might be some really nice trevally as well in the trails once you start catching a few. Always have that light set up ready to go. You just never know, you might catch a really nice trevally or brim on that light setup, or you might get dusted by a king. It's always just pace just to make sure you have a mixture of rods when you're burling up, because you just never know what could come up in the trail. Really good burley to use, again, is pilchards if you can. I prefer to use like those sort of natural baits, so pilchards, bits of cut off, fish frames, all that sort of stuff, rather than pellets and stuff like that. I'd rather use the natural stuff if you can.